Welcome to the first lesson of our English course. I'm so glad you're here, and I can't wait to embark on this learning journey with you. Today, we're diving into one of the most essential verbs in the English language, the verb to be. This verb is the foundation for many sentences, and mastering it will open up a world of communication for you. To get the most out of this course, I encourage you to follow the slides carefully. Take notes on the important points, as they will help reinforce your understanding. If you have any questions as we go along, don't hesitate to review the content. This is your opportunity to learn and grow, so make the most of it. Throughout this course, we will explore various aspects of the verb to be, including its forms, how to use it in sentences, and common mistakes to avoid. By the end of this course, you will master how to use am, is, and are confidently in your conversations. Imagine being able to introduce yourself, describe your feelings, or talk about others with ease. I want you to feel excited about what you're going to learn. Each lesson builds on the last, leading you to a stronger grasp of English. You're taking a wonderful step in your learning journey, and I believe in your ability to succeed. Let's get started and make this an enjoyable and productive experience together. Continuing our course, let's explore why learning the verb to be is so important. This verb is not just a word, it's a fundamental building block for expressing identity. Think about it. When you introduce yourself, you say, "I am a student," or "I am happy." These are expressions of who you are and how you feel. Notice that without to be, it would be challenging to communicate these essential aspects of yourself. Moreover, understanding the verb to be is crucial for forming sentences, whether they're affirmative, negative, or even questions. For instance, when we say, "He is not here," we are using to be to convey a negative statement. This versatility makes it the foundation of English grammar. Imagine trying to hold a conversation without it. It's like trying to build a house without a solid base. Everything would fall apart. The use of to be is universal. You'll find it in everyday conversations, in formal texts, and even in the songs and movies you enjoy. Picture your favorite song. How many times do you hear lines that include to be? It's everywhere, and mastering it will help you understand and participate in all these forms of communication. As we move forward, we will dive deeper into the specifics of to be. We'll discuss its different forms, which are am, is, and are, and how to use them correctly in various contexts. This understanding will empower you to express yourself more clearly and confidently. So, let's keep building on this foundation, because the more you know, the easier it gets. Now that we understand the importance of the verb to be, let's delve into what it actually is. The verb to be is quite unique in English, serving two fundamental roles, which in Portuguese are represented by ser and estar. This means it's not only about stating facts, but also about describing states or conditions. For example, when you say, "I am happy," you're expressing a state of being. On the other hand, if you say, "I am a teacher," you're defining an identity. Notice how this versatility makes to be indispensable in everyday communication. Another key feature of this verb is that it's irregular, meaning it doesn't follow the usual rules of conjugation that many other verbs do. Instead of adding endings or changing letters as you might with regular verbs, to be has three distinct forms in the present tense: am, is, and are. Each of these forms corresponds to specific subjects. For instance, we use am exclusively with I, is with third-person singular subjects like he or she, and are with plural subjects or the pronoun you. It's interesting to observe how these forms help clarify who or what we are talking about in a sentence. Think about it. If we didn't have these distinct forms, sentences might become confusing. Imagine saying, "He are happy," instead of "he is happy." It just doesn't sound right, does it? As we move on, we'll explore how to use these forms in affirmative sentences, negative constructions, and questions. Mastering these aspects will help you communicate effectively and confidently. So, let's keep building on this foundation and see how we can apply what we've learned in practical situations. Moving forward in our journey, let's focus on the three forms of the verb to be: am, is, and are. These three little words are indeed magical, as you will encounter them in almost every conversation you have in English. It's essential to memorize them because they are the foundation of countless sentences. To give you a clearer picture, think about how we use these forms in everyday situations. When you introduce yourself, you say, "I am a student." Here, am connects the subject I with the identity of being a student. It's personal, direct, and essential. Now, if we switch to someone else, like your friend Sarah, you would say, "She is happy." Notice how is serves to describe her state. This is crucial for expressing feelings or conditions. Now, when we're talking about groups of people or things, we use are. For example, "They are friends" tells us about a relationship among a group. Here, are helps connect the subject with a broader context, giving us important information about multiple people. It's interesting to see how each form fits into the puzzle of communication. Each one has its specific place, making our sentences clearer. Imagine trying to say, "I is happy," or "they am friends." It sounds off, right? This distinction is what keeps our language structured and understandable. As we proceed, we'll explore how to use these forms in different types of sentences, including negatives and questions. This understanding will empower you to express yourself more clearly in conversations. So let's dive deeper into how we can use am, is, and are effectively. Continuing our course, let's explore the specific forms of the verb to be in the present tense. We've already talked about am, us, and are, and now it's time to see how each one is used in practice. First, let's focus on I am. This form is used exclusively with the subject I, which is the first person singular. For example, when you say, "I am happy," you are expressing your own state of being. It's personal and direct, isn't it? This is crucial because it directly connects your identity or feelings to yourself. Next, we have he, she, and it, which all use the form is. For instance, if you say, "He is a teacher," or "she is excited," you're describing someone else. This form helps us convey information about a single person or thing. Notice how it clarifies who we are talking about. If we didn't have is, it could lead to confusion in our conversations. Now, let's look at you, we, and they, which all take the form are. When you say, "You are my friend," or "They are playing outside," you are talking about groups or addressing someone directly. This versatility is essential since it connects the subject to a broader context. It's interesting to observe how these forms help us communicate effectively in different situations, allowing us to express everything from states of being to relationships. As we move forward, we'll practice forming simple affirmative sentences using these forms. This will help reinforce your understanding and confidence in using the verb to be in everyday conversations. So let's dive into some practical examples and see how we can apply what we've learned. Now that we've established how to use the forms of the verb to be, let's look at some simple affirmative examples. These sentences will help solidify our understanding and show us how to use am, is, and are in everyday situations. For instance, when you say, "I am a student," you're clearly stating your identity. It's a straightforward sentence, but it conveys an important piece of information about who you are. Think about how often you might introduce yourself this way. It's a common starting point in conversations, isn't it? Next, consider the sentence, "She is happy." Here, we use is because we're talking about one person, in this case, a woman. This sentence expresses her emotional state. Notice how is helps us understand her feeling without any ambiguity. It's a simple yet powerful way to convey a message. Now, let's look at a plural example. They are friends. In this case, are connects a group of people. It tells us about their relationship, indicating that they share a bond. This highlights how are is essential when discussing multiple subjects. These examples are just the beginning of how you can express various ideas using the verb to be. As we move forward, we'll explore how to form negative sentences and questions. This will give you a well-rounded understanding of how to communicate more effectively. So, let's keep building on these foundational sentences as we dive deeper into the structures of English. Moving forward in our journey, let's explore how to form negative sentences using the verb to be. This is a crucial skill because it allows us to express what is not true or to clarify situations in our conversations. The structure for creating a negative sentence is quite simple. You just add not right after the verb to be. For example, if you want to say that you are not tired, you would say, I am not tired. This clearly communicates your state of being, indicating that you feel awake and alert. Now, let's consider another example. He is not here. In this case, we're telling someone that a particular person is absent. Notice how not changes the meaning of the sentence, giving us important information about his location. It's interesting to observe how just one little word can transform the message completely. We can also look at a plural example. We are not late. Here, are is used because we're talking about a group, and adding not clearly indicates that you and your group are on time. This is useful in everyday conversations, especially when coordinating plans or meetings. Understanding how to use not with am, is, and are will empower you to express a wider range of thoughts and feelings. As we proceed to the next slides, we will practice forming questions and short answers, which will build on this foundation. This skill set will enhance your ability to communicate effectively, whether you're chatting with friends or engaging in more formal discussions. So let's keep going and see how we can apply these structures in different ways. Continuing our course, let's explore how to form questions using the verb to be. This is a vital skill as asking questions helps us gather information and engage in conversations. Just like we learned how to create affirmative and negative sentences, now we'll see how to flip the structure around to ask questions effectively. To form a question with to be, we simply invert the order of the verb and the subject. This means that the verb comes first, followed by the subject. For example, instead of saying, you are my friend, if we want to ask if that's true, we say, are you my friend? This slight change in order completely transforms the sentence from a statement into a question. Let's look at another example. Is she your sister? Here, we've placed is before she. This question is straightforward, and it seeks to clarify a relationship. Notice how this structure invites the other person to provide information, encouraging a response. Now consider the question, am I your teacher? In this case, we're asking about our own role, which makes it very personal. It's interesting to observe how we can use the same verb forms to inquire about different subjects, whether it's about ourselves, someone else, or a group. Let's not forget about plural subjects. If we want to ask about a group, we can say, are they at school? This question helps us understand where a group of people might be and is particularly useful in everyday conversations, like when making plans. As we move forward, we'll practice short answers to these questions. This will help you become more comfortable responding quickly and accurately in conversations. So, let's keep building on this foundation and enhance your communication skills even further. Now that we've learned how to form questions, let's focus on how to provide short answers. This is an essential skill for smooth and effective communication. Short answers help us respond quickly and clearly, keeping conversations flowing. For affirmative responses, you can simply echo the question using the verb to be. For example, if someone asks, are you a student? You would respond, yes, I am. This confirms your identity efficiently. Notice how straightforward this is. It makes your answer clear without needing extra details. Similarly, if someone asks, is she happy? You can respond with, yes, she is. This not only confirms her emotional state, but also maintains the flow of conversation. Short answers are especially useful in everyday exchanges where time is of the essence, like when you're catching up with friends or making quick decisions. Now, let's explore negative responses. If the answer is no, the structure is just as simple. For instance, if someone asks, "Are you tired?" and you want to say you're not, you would respond, "No, I'm not." This clearly communicates your state, just like the affirmative responses we talked about earlier. If someone inquires, "Is she at home?" and she is not, you would say, "No, she isn't." This allows you to provide important information without over-explaining. It's interesting to see how these concise responses can convey a lot with just a few words. As we move forward, we will practice using these short answers in various contexts. By doing so, you'll become more comfortable and confident in your English conversations. So, let's dive deeper into this practical application and enhance your communication skills further. Moving forward in our journey, let's delve into a fascinating aspect of the verb to be that will help you sound more natural and fluid in your conversations. Contractions. Just like we've learned how to structure questions and provide short answers, using contractions is an essential skill that native speakers often employ in everyday speech. So, what exactly are contractions? They are simply shortened forms of phrases where we combine words. For instance, instead of saying "I am," we often say "I'm." This small change makes your speech flow more smoothly and sounds more conversational. For example, you might say, "I'm happy," instead of the longer form. Notice how much more casual and friendly that sounds. Similarly, when we talk about someone else, we can say "he is" as "he's." So instead of saying, "He is tall," you would say, "He's tall." This not only saves time, but also makes your speaking style more like that of a native speaker. And what about plural subjects? Instead of saying "they are," we can use "their." For example, saying "they're friends" is a quick and easy way to convey that information without sounding formal. It's interesting to observe how these contractions help create a more relaxed atmosphere in conversations. They are especially useful in casual settings, like chatting with friends or family. As we continue, you'll get a chance to practice using these contractions in different contexts, which will further enhance your communication skills. You'll see how easily you can incorporate them into your speech, making your English sound more natural and fluent. Let's keep building on this foundation together. Continuing our course, let's put our understanding of the verb to be into practice. Now that you've learned how to ask questions and provide short answers, it's time to solidify that knowledge by completing sentences. This exercise will help you become more confident in using the correct forms of the verb to be in different contexts. In this activity, you will fill in the blanks with the right form of to be, am, is, or are. For instance, look at the first sentence, "I'm mocking a teacher." Here, you're asked to identify the correct form that matches the subject, I. Think back to what we learned about using am, specifically with I. Next, we have she orake, my friend. This time, you need to consider the subject, she. Can you recall which form of to be we should use with singular third-person subjects? Yes, that's right. You should think of is here. Finally, the last sentence reads, "They watch at home." This involves the plural subject, they. What do you think is the right choice? Yes, you would use are for this sentence. Take a moment to think about how these forms connect to the examples we've discussed in previous slides. Notice how using the correct form not only clarifies your message, but also helps in building strong sentences that convey what you mean. As we move on, we'll continue to practice different structures and scenarios, reinforcing your skills with the verb to be. So, let's jump into this exercise and see how well you can apply what you've learned. Now that we've practiced filling in the blanks with the correct forms of the verb to be, let's take our learning a step further. Continuing our course, we will focus on transforming affirmative sentences into negative ones. This is an essential skill as it allows us to express the opposite of what we've said, which can be just as important in conversations. For this activity, you will add not after the verb to create negative sentences. Let's look at a few examples together. The first sentence is he is tall. To change this to a negative form, simply add not to say he is not tall. This small addition changes the meaning entirely, indicating that he doesn't possess that height. Next, consider the sentence, we are ready. In a situation where you're not prepared, you would say, we are not ready. Think about how often we need to express unpreparedness in our daily lives, like before a big meeting or an event. Lastly, let's take you are busy. If you're actually free, you would respond, you are not busy. Notice how these transformations not only help clarify your intentions, but also enrich your communication skills. As we proceed, you'll practice more of these transformations, which will help you become comfortable with negative statements. It's interesting to see how adding not can shift the entire meaning of a sentence. By mastering this, you'll enhance your ability to express yourself clearly and accurately in English conversations. So let's dive into this exercise and see how well you can apply these transformations. Now that we've practiced forming negative sentences, let's take another important step in our learning journey. Continuing our course, we will focus on forming questions using the verb to be. This skill is essential for effective communication, as asking questions allows us to engage with others and gather information. To create questions in English, we typically invert the order of the subject and the verb. This might sound a bit technical, but it's quite straightforward once you get the hang of it. For example, let's start with the statement, you are a student. To turn this into a question, simply switch the order to say, are you a student? This inversion is what transforms a statement into an inquiry. Let's look at another example. If we have the sentence, she is happy, by switching the order, we form the question, is she happy? This simple change helps us check in on someone's feelings, and isn't that an important part of connecting with others? Now consider the phrase, they are here. When we want to ask about their presence, we change it to, are they here? This method makes it easy to seek information or clarify situations in everyday conversations. It's interesting to observe how these questions not only help us gather information, but also encourage interaction. Think about times when you've asked someone about their day or their feelings. Using the correct question format is key. As we move forward in our course, we will practice forming these questions in various contexts, allowing you to become more comfortable and confident in your conversations. So, let's dive into this activity and see how well you can apply what you've learned about forming questions. Now that we've practiced forming questions, let's take our understanding of the verb to be and apply it in a practical situation. Continuing our course, we'll focus on describing people and objects, which is a fundamental skill in everyday conversations. Describing things allows us to share our thoughts and feelings effectively. For example, when we say, the dog is big, we're not just stating a fact. We're painting a picture for someone else. Imagine you're talking to a friend about a pet they might want to adopt. By describing the dog as big, you help them visualize what it would be like to have that dog in their home. Another example is, I am happy today. This sentence expresses your current state of mind. It's interesting to observe how sharing your emotions helps others connect with you. When you tell someone you're happy, they might respond positively, creating a warm interaction. Next, consider the phrase, we are friends. This statement not only describes a relationship, but also reinforces a bond between you and your friend. By using are with we, you affirm the connection you share, making it clear that you value that friendship. As we dive deeper into these examples, think about how you can describe your surroundings or the people in your life. Notice that using the verb to be effectively allows you to communicate more clearly and enriches your conversations. In our next slide, we'll explore how to use the verb to be for age and location, which will further enhance your descriptive skills. So, let's continue this journey and see how we can expand our ability to express ourselves in English. Now that we've explored how to describe people and objects using the verb to be, let's take our understanding a step further. Moving forward in our journey, we need to pay special attention to how we use to be when talking about age and location. This is an important distinction, especially since it differs from how we express these ideas in Portuguese. In English, we use to be to indicate our age. For instance, if you want to say you are 12 years old, you would say, I am 12 years old. Notice how this is quite different from Portuguese, where we might say, Eu tenho 12 anos, which translates to, I have 12 years. In English, we link age directly to our identity using to be. Similarly, we use to be to describe our location. For example, if someone asks where a person is, you might say, she is at school. This simple statement gives clear information about her current place. You can also say, we are in Brazil, which tells others where you are located geographically. It's interesting to observe how these uses of to be provide not just information, but context. Think about how often we ask each other about where we are or how old we are. These are common questions in everyday conversations. As we continue through the course, we'll dive deeper into practical applications of these concepts. In the next slide, we'll highlight some common mistakes to watch out for when using to be. This will help you avoid pitfalls and communicate more effectively. So, let's keep building on our skills. Now that we've highlighted the importance of using the verb to be for age and location, let's focus on some common mistakes that learners often make. Moving forward in our journey, understanding these pitfalls will help you communicate more accurately and confidently. One frequent error is using am with he, she, or it. For example, saying he am happy is incorrect. The correct form is he is happy. It's essential to remember that am is used only with I. So when you're talking about someone else, always switch to is. Another common mistake is forgetting the verb in questions. For instance, if someone asks, you a student? That's missing the verb. The correct way to ask is, are you a student? This simple addition makes your question clear and correct. Additionally, some learners mistakenly use are with I. For example, saying, I are tired is incorrect. The right structure is I am tired. Remember, am goes with I. And this is a key point to keep in mind. It's interesting to observe how these small changes can significantly impact your communication. Think about how often we use these forms in daily conversations. By avoiding these common errors, you can express yourself more clearly and effectively. As we prepare to move on to the next slide, keep these points in mind. We'll be engaging in a fun, interactive game that will help you practice your skills in a lively way. Let's get ready to learn while having fun. Now that we've identified common mistakes to avoid when using the verb to be, let's shift gears and have some fun with what we've learned. Moving forward in our journey, we're going to engage in an interactive game called Guess Who? This activity will not only reinforce your understanding of the verb to be, but also encourage creativity and teamwork. Here's how it works. You will describe a famous person using the verb to be, but without revealing their name. Your classmates will then guess who you're talking about. For example, you might say, he is tall, he is American, he is a basketball player, he is famous. Can you guess who that is? Yes, it's LeBron James. Notice how this game allows you to practice forming sentences with to be in a playful and engaging way. It's also a great opportunity to think about the different ways we can describe someone, using details that help others visualize who we mean. Think about your favorite celebrities, athletes, or historical figures. How would you describe them? The goal is to use the verb to be effectively, just as we discussed in previous slides. This not only helps you practice, but also enhances your ability to communicate clearly and accurately. Now it's your turn. Choose someone you admire or find interesting and use to be to describe them. Remember to think about their traits, profession, and any notable characteristics. This activity will help solidify your understanding while making the learning process enjoyable. As we wrap up this game, be ready to recap what you've learned. In the next slide, we'll summarize the key points about the verb to be and prepare for the next steps in your English learning journey. So, let's get started with the game. Now that we've had some fun with our game and practiced using the verb to be, let's take a moment to recap everything we've learned so far. Continuing our journey, it's important to solidify our understanding of the three forms of to be: am, is, and are. Each of these forms has specific pronouns that they pair with, and remembering these connections is key to speaking correctly. For instance, we use am only with I, as in, I am happy. Then, is goes with third-person singular pronouns like he, she, or it. So you would say, he is tall or she is a teacher. Lastly, are is used with you, we, and they. For example, you are my friend, or they are students. Now, think back to the different types of sentences we've covered. You've mastered forming affirmative statements, negatives, and questions. Recall how we structure negatives by adding not after the verb, such as she is not sad. And when it comes to asking questions, we invert the order, like in, are you ready? It's fascinating to observe how these structures allow us to communicate effectively in everyday situations. Consider how often we introduce ourselves, ask questions, or describe someone. Each time we do, we're using these forms of to be to convey clear messages. As we prepare for the next slide, think about how to apply what you've learned in real-life conversations. In our upcoming session, we'll focus on creating simple dialogues using the verb to be. This will be a practical way to enhance your speaking skills and build confidence. So, let's keep moving forward together. Now that we've recapped the essential forms of the verb to be, let's discuss our next steps in this learning journey. Continuing from where we left off, practicing with dialogues is a fantastic way to strengthen your skills. Imagine creating simple conversations using to be with your friends or family. This not only helps you practice, but also makes your learning experience more enjoyable and interactive. For example, you can describe your daily routine or talk about your family members. You might say, I am excited about the weekend, or my brother is a teacher. Notice how these simple sentences help you express your thoughts clearly and effectively. Engaging in dialogue allows you to apply what you've learned in real-life situations, which is a vital part of mastering any language. As we look ahead, I want to highlight that in our next class, we will expand our understanding of the verb to be by learning its past forms, was and were. This is an important step because it will enable you to talk about past experiences. For instance, you will say, I was happy yesterday, or they were students last year. Think about how this will broaden your ability to communicate about your life and experiences. Additionally, we'll explore how to combine the verb to be with adjectives and prepositions, which will enrich your vocabulary. This means you'll be able to describe things more vividly, like saying, the book is on the table, or she is kind. It's interesting to see how these combinations can bring your sentences to life, making your conversations even more engaging. So, as we prepare for the next slide, reflect on these ideas and get ready to practice, as this will set a solid foundation for our upcoming lessons. Let's keep building on what we've learned. As we come to the end of our course, let's take a moment to reflect on all the valuable lessons we've covered. You've learned about the three forms of the verb to be: am, and are. Remember how we practiced using these forms in various contexts, from making simple statements to asking questions? This foundation is vital for your English communication. I want to sincerely thank you for your participation and dedication throughout this journey. Your commitment to learning is commendable, and it's important to recognize how these skills will serve you in everyday life. Whether you are introducing yourself, describing someone, or simply sharing your feelings, you are now equipped to express yourself more clearly. I encourage you to revisit the material whenever you need a refresher. The more you practice forming sentences with to be, the more natural it will become. Think of it as opening new doors. Learning English truly connects you to the world and all the opportunities it offers. As you move forward, remember that every bit of practice counts. Try to use what you've learned in conversations, and don't hesitate to ask questions. This is how you grow and become more confident in your abilities. Congratulations on completing this course. You've taken a significant step in your English learning journey, and I hope you feel proud of your progress. Keep practicing, keep exploring, and I look forward to seeing you in the next class. Keep up the great work.